Welcome, everybody. And today we are interviewing Jeni Wahlig. Jenny, it's a pleasure to have you here and great to see you today.
Thank you so much, Kimberly. I am really happy to be here and to share my story. These are really great stories. I love that you're doing this.
Fantastic. Good. So let me check first of all. Am I saying your surname correctly? Is it Wahlig or Valig?
It's Wahlig, but
Wahlig.
in like my original ancestry, it was Wahlig. So
Okay.
you're
Okay. And
probably saying it more right than we are.
and whereabouts are you located in the world?
So we are located south of Seattle in Washington in the United States.
Okay. Good. Where it rains a lot, I understand.
Yeah, it does. Mostly in the winter. It's surprisingly, summers are pretty dry.
Oh, great. Good.
Yeah.
Okay. Not like England.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So look, you have I know you have a great story to share. So let's get started. So just tell me a little bit about what was life like before you realized something you wanted to change, something or it needed to change.
Yes. So contextually, so my story is about relationships, and relationships have been kind of my thing that I've been dreaming about and learning about for my whole life. And prior to the turning point change, I was in a relationship with the person that I knew as my soulmate. His name is Calvin, and this was actually the second time that we had tried our relationship. There was a 7 year gap between starting the first time and the second time. And prior to this turning point, our relationship was really, really hard. And to the extent that um, Cal often wouldn't even want to spend time with me, and we got very little time together because it was so draining for each of us to be around one another. There was often conflict and disagreements. We felt really um, very different. And for my part, it felt like I was really living off of breadcrumbs in the relationship. Like he was not giving me much. I was really unhappy. I kept trying to help him understand how he could give me more, and yet nothing was changing. And this despite having a master's and a PhD in couple and family therapy, helping other couples with their relationship. It was like, what is wrong with me or with us that I can't figure out how to fix this? And it was, as anybody who's gone through really difficult relationship struggles understands, it was very consuming. Um, Really affected my mental health, my physical health, my business, my other relationships. It was really hard to focus. It just felt like my world was falling apart and I could not figure out what to do to make it better. And everything I knew to do wasn't working.
Mm. So what was the crunch point then?
Yeah, so the crunch point, and it's so interesting because I never would have imagined that something like this could be a turning point in such a profoundly transformational way like it was. But the crunch point was actually a phone call that I had with Cal. So we were in the middle of a fight. I was unhappy. I was upset about another thing. And he really kind of gave me what at the time felt like an ultimatum. I understand for him it was just his truth. But he basically told me that I need to take it or leave it. He was going through dark night of the soul kind of stuff in his whole life. And while I was not getting what I deserved, his reality in the moment was he couldn't give me more. He was giving me all that he could. And so he told me, he's like, this, I'm giving you everything I've got. You can either let that be enough for you right now, or you can leave this relationship and find somebody who can give you more. And I realized like I did deserve more. I wanted more. I needed more to sustain a relationship long term with this man. But I also knew because we'd broken up so many times before that I didn't want to be without him. And so what happened in that moment was I decided And mind you, I didn't decide to like accept breadcrumbs for the rest of my life. That wasn't the decision, right? Because I knew Cal's heart and I knew that he was the kind of person who, while he wasn't able to and didn't know how to give me more in the moment, that if he could and if he knew better, that he would. Right now, he was just focused on survival. But what that did for me in choosing to like take what he had to give, was it forced me to have to look at how I could take more responsibility for the well-being of our relationship. Like, how could I stop thinking about all the things that I wanted and needed and start maybe making it easier for him to want to give those to me or to be able to give those to me? I started to look at how I was participating in my own unhappiness, in the dynamics of our relationship that weren't working really well. How my thinking, my stories, my beliefs about relationships, about him, about what was the problem and what needed to change to be the solution were actually a part of the problem. And so by changing those beliefs and changing how I showed up, I could like I knew I needed to like be able to do that, like point the finger inward really in order to transform the dance that he and I were doing. And what I found was it was really so magical because it didn't take very long of me shifting who I was being, how I was thinking, what I was believing, how I was acting, how I was showing up, what I was imagining for myself to start experiencing in the actual relationship dynamic this level up from Cal, that he wanted to be around me more often, that he had more to give me, that it was more fun, we were fighting less, we were getting along more, we were enjoying one another, we became partners. And then all of a sudden, like before I really even realized what had happened, I was like, how? How did this change from almost unbearable to really unbelievable to like the best, easiest relationship I'd ever had? And I remember asking Cal once what it was that had happened. And he's like, I think we just both started owning our shit. And and truly that became like this new framework that changed everything for me in the work that I do with couples. It actually brought me away from therapy and into a coaching world so I could work alongside Cal. But it pivoted what we were doing and talking about from what the problems were and why folks were so unhappy and what wasn't working to what it was they wanted and how each person could, within their own power and ability, start taking steps toward creating that with their partner, even if their partner wasn't willing or able to participate in that moment. Because the
Mm,
truth is, we're all tied together.
yeah.
Please go ahead.
So can you, I mean, that is, it's quite difficult, isn't it, to have that shift? Because I imagine the tendency is to think, if only he would change,
Oh,
everything would be
yeah.
okay. You know,
Oh, yeah.
recognize something in yourself that needs changing. It's like it's reversing it. So have you got an example of something that where you changed how you were feeling about it, um, that made the
Yeah.
difference?
Yes. Yeah. This is a simple example, but I think that it's one that a lot of people could relate to. So a lot of people are familiar with the five love languages that Gary Chapman wrote about. Yeah. You've heard of them? Okay.
Yeah.
So my love language is words of affirmation. And Cal's love language is physical touch, primarily. One of the things that I would really just like kind of push him on was you just give me words, right? Like comfort me with words, or can you just say, I'm sorry, or you're right, or I love you, or even you look beautiful today. And his brain is just not wired that way. It's difficult for him to connect feelings with thoughts or even to get thoughts out of his mouth for a lot of reasons, for history, because he's neurospicy, but it just does not come naturally to him. And yet it was like, my love language. I'm telling you how you can love me better. it's not that hard. I'll take what you can give, even if they're not the most beautiful words. Like just try. And and it felt like he wouldn't try. And it was like, why can't you just put effort into loving me? So this was the belief, right? This was the narrative. And so one of the things here that shifted for me was that not only did I recognize that I was asking Cal to do something that for me was super easy, but for
Mm,
him wasn't. So I was able to take that perspective. Like, I'm asking him to do a hard thing. A. B, I'm not making it safe for him to try, right? I'm not making it easy for him to do this hard and vulnerable thing that he's afraid of screwing up and that he doesn't know how to do really well. If you put yourself in beginner's mind, right? Like when we're trying a new thing, especially in front of someone who's really good at it,
yeah.
like it's intimidating. And so I had to soften and find ways of inviting him to share words with me when I needed words
Mm,
in a way that gave him permission to feel like more comfortable and safe and supported in it. Sometimes all he would say is words because he's silly and a bit of a smart aleck like that. But here's the final shift that really helped me is I recognize that even though that was silly, if he's just saying words, it is still coming from a place of I want to do this for you, and I don't know what to say, but here's something. Here's the word words. So I translated that to him participating, him responding instead of denying my requests. And then I started recognizing that like when I was upset or crying and I needed words, when he would just hug me, that those were his words.
mm,
So instead of just needing and supporting him in loving me through my love language, I also started allowing his love language to count for me. In fact, what I would do sometimes is he would hold me as I would say to myself the things that I wanted to be hearing from him.
mm,
Like I would be like, okay, this is his hug saying to me, I love you. I care. It's going to be okay. I'm sorry. Right. So like I did that labor
mm,
and allowed what was easy for him in showing me love to feel like love for me instead
mm.
of it being more evidence of how he was not doing a good enough job.
Yeah.
And that is just like a small example of some of the many like little internal shifts I was able to make that permitted Cal to feel safer, to feel loved for who he really was, and to have the desire and capacity to grow and step into a better and better version of who he was as my partner.
Mm. And did you have any sort of counseling or coaching yourself, or as a couple then, or did you just do this all on your own?
I had to do this all on my own, Kim, and I don't recommend it. I mean, fortunately, I have all the education and training as a therapist. I was doing couples therapy for about 10 years at that point. And so I had that framework that I could internalize and put into practice for myself. But the truth was the Cal and I, for numerous reasons, didn't go to therapy. I was actually jealous of my therapy clients because they got to be in therapy with somebody, with their partner, and I wanted to be. And it would have been so helpful to just have someone to talk to. But it didn't work with our lives and our schedules and the stuff that Cal was going through at the time. And I actually don't know that I had heard of relationship coaching.
Mm,
I'd heard of life coaching, but like relationship coaching, which is what Cal and I do now, what like wasn't even an option that I was aware of or had considered. So I'm very stubborn and and a really like self-reflective person. And so and maybe to a fault, and this is something I'm growing through, but one of those like hyper independent, like, well, fine, I can figure this out myself. I don't need you. I'm gonna figure this out myself. So I did. I figured it out largely myself and I played and I looked at what was working and what was not. I did have, I'll say, because she deserves credit, a really wonderful mentor who is no longer with us in the physical world, but a really wonderful like friend and mentor who was deep in the AA program actually. And so she had done a lot of self work and accountability work and personal growth. And she really called me on my crap, really reminded me that if I'm pointing the finger at him, I need to be like looking 3 times as hard at myself, and reminded me that sometimes the hardest thing to do is nothing, right? Like, because I'm the fixer, I want to fix it, I want to make it better right away, and like I just had to like sit on my hands and do nothing and like practice that space. And it was really, really uncomfortable. But I had the determination to do it. So I don't recommend the trial and error. This is why, Cal and I created a business to support people in learning how to do this faster and with less stumbling blocks and less suffering. Because, I mean, let's be honest, nobody likes struggling in their relationship. And by the time most people are looking for support, they're ready to like be done now. Struggling, it like needs to change now. And I recognize like truly the therapy model, for a number of reasons I won't get into now, but the therapy model was not as effective. And that's why I moved away from continuing to do therapy, right? Is not as effective as it needed to be or could be, given what I had learned about what was really needed to transform relationships. And so yeah, so
Yeah.
that's
So
how we got there.
am I right in thinking then, if I try and understand this from someone who's not as familiar with what you do, is that the way you work with people now is instead of them coming to you and you focus on the problems that they've got and unpicking the problems as such, you're focusing more on what do they actually want to achieve, what's their visualization of their life together, how do they want it to look, and moving from that
Mhm.
point. Would that be right?
Yeah, that's a big part of it. Because we understand that when you focus on problems, a lot of the time it's the problems that you're continuing, right? You're bringing the past situation into the present moment, you're bringing the pain back into the now, and there's no way to really change the past. You could change your relationship up with the past, right? But you do that now and in the present and looking and going forward. So that's certainly a big part of what we do. Um, we also have a 3 pillar method, which covers the what we found are really the essential pieces that need to be attended to in order to transform a relationship. So um, we call the first pillar liberation, and that's where you are kind of freeing yourself from the thoughts and the stories and the beliefs and the dance that you do in your relationship. You're understanding your patterns and you're understanding your way out of them, right? So we have to free ourselves from that which is holding us back. The second is learning, because most of us haven't learned what like how to navigate struggles in relationships in a really effective way. Just kind of blows me away that probably the most important skill set that we could have in our life, relationships, we're all just expected to know or figure out somehow on our own. So there's actually a lot that we can learn about ourselves and about relationships and how to do them more effectively. So we're really um, intentional about supporting our clients with learning some kind of key skills and concepts and frameworks that can support them in um, navigating their relationship differently. And then the last piece, and this is the piece that I'm really so passionate about, is we call lead with love, which is where we are supporting people in this, what we call empowered accountability, is looking at what they can do to be a part of the solution. What next step can they take that is going to support their relationship and getting to the place they want it to be, that is going to set their partner up for success and be more likely their partner's going to respond the way that they want them to. And it's more nuanced than just like, oh, I have to do all the relationship work myself. Like mine was a really extreme case and it taught me what was needed, but it's not ideal for everybody. And for some people, it's not going to work, and that's totally okay. But there's still like, as you mentioned earlier, this tendency to look at, well, if my partner could just change because they're doing this thing that's upsetting me. And so if they could stop doing this thing or start doing this thing, then I would feel better and our relationship would be better. And when we're there, we're giving our power away. And we're actually, it's a very ineffective way of inviting change into our relationship because nobody likes to be told how they're not doing a good enough job, right? And what they need to do better and how they need to fix it. It just, on a non-conscious level, it activates some stuff within us and we get resistance. So leading with love is about learning how to really like look inward and slow down and be more conscious about how you yourself are engaging in your relationship dynamic. And some of that's what we do, but a lot of that is how we're thinking about it, right? The stories we're telling ourselves, what we're focusing on, and and what we're doing with our feelings when they show up. So these, aside from also getting really, and I think this is a coach, like a coaching mentorship difference as opposed to therapy. Instead of focusing on problems, we're focusing on solutions and being very deliberate about what we want to create. Our method has like all three of these pillars very intentionally interwoven into all of what we do. And we get to work together. So we get like the the dual perspective, the masculine and feminine energy, the pursue and withdraw dynamic, like history, which I think is just such a really sweet gift for couples when, especially when both partners are working in the program together.
Yes, fantastic. And how is it working together? Because it that can be a whole nother level of
It
fun.
is. It is, so Cal calls it the trifecta of maximum human experience to be in relationship together, in business together, and parents together. And so we are in like the,
Wow.
yes, the three like ways that life really invites us to grow who we are in our relational dynamics, right? It's when you have our kids, our business, and our romantic partnership, right? Our marriage. Um, but for us, it's a real gift. It has been a catalyst for even more growth, even more expansion and intentionality in who we are together and how we are together. And truly, we're at this place in our relationship, and we have been where we, despite living and working and parenting and loving together, we still can't seem to get enough of one another. And if we could work together more, we love our business. We're so passionate about what we're doing that we would love to just like do business things even more often than we're able to, right? Work with our clients and find new ways to support people on this journey and unlocking what is really possible for them. And so it's been good. Not always easy, but we have the skills. That's the thing, right? Like we have the skills, we have the frameworks, we have the mindset to know how to move through the challenges really quickly and effectively so that they result in our growth and not in more problems and disconnection.
And the journey that you've been on since you sort of decided something needed to change, how long is that? How long ago is it to now?
Yeah, so gosh, that was, I don't think I was pregnant yet. So that was must have been 2016 or really early 2000. Nope, it was 2016. So late 2016 or very early 2017. Um, so 9 years ago now.
Mm, mm. Wow, and it sounds like it's really transformed things for you, the two of you.
Y- Yeah, it has. It's transformed truly everything. Because you know, your marriage, your relationship is what most people are building their lives around.
Mm. And
And
just,
so,
uh, sorry to interrupt you.
no, please.
You started off, it was something you did the work because Cal, the situation he was in at the time, it wasn't right for him to do some work.
Hmm.
Would you say that you've now both moved and done work then? Is that,
Oh,
yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And it happened really quickly that he stepped into it. It's amazing. You know, and this makes sense given my education, and like the research that's been done on our attachment frameworks. And I won't get too technical, but in hindsight, it makes a lot of sense. But it was very quick once he started feeling safer in our relationship, more loved by me, like he didn't have this pressure to be more, that he could be exactly who he was, exactly where he was at, and he was still lovable for that. And I still wanted to be with him. Like he just kind of rose into his better and better versions of self. And like it creates this upward spiral, right? Where like I give a little bit more and he feels a little bit better, so he gives a little bit more, which makes me like feel so much better. And then I want to give more, and then he wants to give more, and up and up and up we continue to go. So it's really beautiful. And and again, makes sense because people need to feel safe in order to change.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of science that proves that.
And finally, are there some words of wisdom or a thought you'd like to share with people who are watching this, who are perhaps feeling they can resonate with some of what you've said about relationships?
Yeah. So I would say get support, or at the very least get intentional on nourishing and growing your relationship, because again, most of us, like, we're just left to figure this out and hope that if we find the right person that we will. I promise you, finding the right person it just means that you're finding the person who is going to challenge you in all the right ways that you need for your highest level of growth. How you go through those challenges and whether you accept them for your growth and allow them to change you and help you become who you really are is a whole other story. And the path becomes faster and easier when you are intentional about learning, about liberating, about leading with love. So, well, you know, find help to move you through that if you're really struggling, or at the very least, get intentional about how you want to do that. Learn, do that personal growth work, practice looking at yourself. You know, the I think the most important question we ever pose to our clients is, what conscious next step can you take that is more likely to get you the results that you want in your relationship? And if you just start practicing that question, or the question that Cal and I liked to practice in the beginning a lot was, okay, what's my shit here? What's my shit here? Um, you know, just that little practice, that little shift within you can change the game.
Mm.
So I would love to leave everyone with that.
Thank you. Thank you so much for opening your heart to us and sharing today
Yes.
um,
Thank you for having me.
story. Thank you.